Howdy, y'all. It is me, JSoldierPro, once again. Y'all, today, I am going to be reacting and then analyzing the Wave 5 trailer. That's right, not the teaser trailer. We got the full trailer today. Alright, I'm hyped as all get out. Let's do this. Koopa game music! Oh my god, this is glorious! Oh my god, we duplicate! Oh yes! Oh, this is beautiful. Oh yes, I love it. Okay, Los Angeles Labs. Okay, that looks stunning. Oh yes. Moonview Highway? What? Wait a minute, what? We have two Wii tracks? Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Squeaky clean sprints. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, this is gorgeous right here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Wiggler Kamek. Yo, Athens Dash. Okay, alrighty. Yes, I like this. Ooh, Daisy Cruiser. Alright, alright. I like this. Wait a minute. That Koopa just got completely wrecked. Bro, that Koopa just got slaughtered. Sunset Wilds. Oh, yes. That's really nice. Okay. Vancouver! What the heck? The visuals! Look at the visuals! Alright, Sunset Wilds. Look at this! Look at the visuals! My god! Yo, everybody, the stadium! Oh my gosh! Huh. Can I just point out how gorgeous this looks? My god, this is beautiful! Alright, so, first of all, I cannot believe that we have two Wii tracks, and secondly, honestly, Vancouver Velocity, I cannot wait to hear the soundtrack. I adore the soundtrack from Tour. I cannot wait to hear it in 8 Deluxe. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is amazing. Oh. Alright. Yo, okay, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Booster Course Pass. More courses are coming. Alrighty. Alright. 48. Okay, so let's see here. So for the Feather Cup, it's Athens Dash, Daisy Cruiser, Moonview Highway, Squeaky Clean Sprint, and then Cherry Cup is Los Angeles Labs, Sunset Wilds, Koopa Cape, and then Vancouver Velocity. Oh my goodness me. And there's the release date, available July 12th, 2023. Now for my track music opinions, and I gotta say, I'm a fan of Athens Dash music. It fits the track so well, it sounds so good. I'm extremely happy with this. Okay, I might be a bit biased because I just got done with vacation going to the beach, but good God, this music takes me back. Oh, this music is so good. It's so calming and relaxing. This song slaps so hard, it should be illegal. My God, can I make this my new ringtone? Good God, I love this. This is obviously not my first time hearing this because, of course, I used this music in the teaser trailer video, but man, I still like it. Sounds good. Gotta be honest, I don't know if I like this or not. Not a big fan of Los Angeles Labs music and Mario Kart Tour, but this doesn't immediately terrify me, which is a plus and an improvement. I'm actually kind of optimistic. This is just as amazing as the original version. I mean, come on, it's Sunset Wilds. Does anyone actually dislike this music? My goodness. Also, this goes so well with the track. The normal theme is awesome, the river theme is awesome, and I'm assuming that the underwater theme is also going to be awesome. Do I need to say more? This is Koopa Cake. This song is truly an experience. To say I love it might perhaps not do it justice. My God, this is glorious. Now it's time to take a deep dive into all of the tracks of Wave 5, and I'm going to be going in chronological order. I'll be using video and screenshots. Let's do this, starting with, of course, Tour Athens Dash. The very first image of Athens Dash, and we already have the Parthenon. Of course we do. You can't start any other way, right? And to the left of there, you will see a statue, specifically the statue of the Greek goddess Athena, who, among other things, is associated with warfare, making her quite fitting for Mario Kart, if you ask me. Going ahead to the second image, and I just want to point out how low detailed the background is, and also these trees. Like, good God, I know it comes from Mario Kart Tour, but for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe standards, this is pathetic as all get out. Also want to point out that you have this lovely thing right here, which you can trick off of, I'm assuming, and there's also pink arrows right here, which means that there's an alternate route that you can take. And by can take, I mean you will have to take. Aside from the Goombas being obstacles that you have to avoid and the Toads cheering you on, both of which are super cool, I do want to point out the Piranha Plant cardboard things in the background. Turns out you can also find these on Ninja Hideaway. You shroom into them, they break, and they reveal a shortcut. I'm assuming it'll be the same deal here, and that's pretty cool if you ask me. I don't have anything to add beyond what I've already said. I think it's just a really cool looking screenshot with an overhead view of the entire track via glider section. All aboard our next track, GCN Daisy Cruiser. Destination, I have no freaking idea. If it's like Mario Kart Double Dash, I guess potentially Peach Beach or maybe Yoshi Circuit. Anyways, moving onward, here we go. We get to see an overview of the cruise ship, and yes, this entire track takes place on a cruise ship, which is brilliant. Only thing I really want to point out, though, is the fact that Princess Daisy is on the side. You can also see little sunflower patterns over on the side as well with the windows, which I think is a nice touch. This second image looks pretty simple, but I promise you I have way more to get from this than you probably think. Alrighty, so first and foremost, this pool is an underwater section. We can clearly see that in this video, and I love it. Granted, this is not new. This was in Tour, and it wasn't unique to Tour either. It actually came from Mario Kart 7, where this was changed from the original version. Just have to clarify that, because if I don't, I'll get a comment about it. Another thing, there are these Goombas who are on rafts or whatever. I genuinely don't know what these things are called. Anyways, you can apparently hit them and even kill them, which means I guess you can ram into the passengers of this cruise ship. That's a bit questionable, but you know what? I'm sure it's no big deal, right? Anyways, so yeah, you can apparently do that, and there's also some Daisy emblems in the background in terms of like the sunflowers, also a proper Daisy emblem on the bottom of the pool, because of course it's Daisy, she's egocentric as all get out, so it's fitting. Another thing, power-ups that are at the very top, repeated over and over and over again. In order from left to right, Tanuki Leaf, Fireflower, Starman, aka Star, literally who calls it Starman, Mushroom, Cat Bell, and the one I am by far the most interested in, the Heart. Now, the other ones people are probably pretty familiar with, but if you've never played Double Dash, you could be forgiven for not really knowing what the Heart is. This is actually an exclusive item that only Peach and Daisy can utilize in that game. So I think it's especially fitting that it was included. You would think I would be done by now, but I'm actually not. I have one more thing to say, and then I swear we're moving on, okay? Anyways, there's a beach ball over here, so I'm assuming that the Goombas or maybe some of the spectators, I don't know. Anyways, somebody's playing beach ball, which I think is cool. You know, you gotta have some fun. Moving on to the third image, and I don't really have a lot here. I think this looks pretty neat, although I am wondering, do the tables move? Back in Mario Kart Double Dash and back in Mario Kart 7, the tables moved in this area, and even though it was made more detailed in Mario Kart Tour, the tables also moved. However, based on the footage, it looks like the tables may be completely stationary in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which would make sense given how detailed they are. I'm not a fan of that change, if so, because I really enjoyed the moving tables personally. I think it gave this area a bit more charm and a bit more chaotic nature to it. Only other thing I have to say is there's an item box right behind Shy Guy. The final thing I want to point out is that Bowser goes down below into an underwater section. We unfortunately don't get to see this, but I'm assuming it'll be basically the same from Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart Tour. Still pretty neat though that this is still included, and I like it. Fasten your seatbelts, everybody, because we are going to be speeding down Moonview Highway. Actually, hold up. Speeding? Seatbelts? That assumes that there's safety regulations. This is Mario Kart. Throw all that nonsense out the window. In fact, there's actually a moderate chance you'll be blown up on your journey because of the bomb cars, which you will find on the track, which we can see one of right here. Another thing that I want to point out is that there is indeed an advertisement. Well, actually, there's many, but the one I'm actually going to talk about, because no, I'm not going to talk about every single one, that would take forever, is the Mushroom Moon musical advertisement. Now, while the art style is completely different, you can actually see the exact same one in Mario Kart Wii, which I think is pretty cool, meaning that this musical has been active since the release of Mario Kart Wii, which is awesome. Another thing, I want to go to this musical. Sounds cool. Also, the art style is absolutely gorgeous, and I don't know if I'm going crazy, but is it just me or does this kind of resemble Bowser? Probably just seeing something that isn't really there, but seriously, maybe I'm not the only one. Anyways, another thing, you will see a surf car and you will see Propeller Toad's transport vehicle as well. This is pretty neat. Both of them are from N64 Toad's Turnpike. And while I don't really care about the surf car, it is worth noting that Propeller Toad's transport is actually an airline from Sunshine Airport. And we can see another one, Galaxy Air, being advertised on one of the buildings, which is pretty neat, which means that airlines are competing for traffic to Moonview Highway, which makes sense. It's a bustling city where you could potentially be blown up. Sounds like a great place for tourists. Also, the bomb cars are apparently reflective. That's neat. Moving on to the next image, and immediately I want to just point out that there is a green shell taxi, which again you can find on N64 Toad's Turnpike. Nothing else to really say other than I am not surprised at all that there are taxi services. The other thing I really want to point out though is just how ridiculous the tolls are. So it doesn't show the currency, but given it's the Mushroom Kingdom, I'm just going to take the liberty of assuming that we're using coins. Going by the logic that 100 coins is equal to a 1-up, in other words, another life, this is straight up insanity. So in order to leave the city, mind you, not even enter the city, to leave the city, you must pay the equivalent of 3 lives if you are a biker, 5 lives if you are a car driver, or God forbid if you're a truck driver, 8 freaking lives. That is insanity. Do they just not want people to leave? Does this apply to tourists too? Good heavens, God forbid you go to Moonview Highway and then you don't have enough lives to get out. I hope you can get a job and earn some income. Hey, maybe you can figure out where New Super Mario Bros. 2 is and, you know, just go crazy, hit a gold ring and collect coins like crazy. Then again, you might crash the economy, but hey, who cares? Something I want to point out is that there are 2 additional routes in addition to the main route that you can take at the start of the track, one being off to the left and the other one being off to the right. If you do indeed take the right path, you will be greeted with a boost ramp that takes you into not 1, but 2 double item boxes. As a final note, I absolutely love how this bridge looks. Absolutely beautiful. The next track to discuss is none other than Squeaky Clean Sprint, or at least that would be the case if it weren't for the Wave 5 teaser trailer, which yes, I already did an entire video on. Link in the description if you're interested in watching it, but yes, that's where you can find all my opinions and all my analysis for Squeaky Clean Sprint, as well as all my opinions on all the characters added to Wave 5 as well, if that interests you. Moving onward, we now reach none other than Los Angeles Laps, and as it turns out, I don't have a ton to say about this track based on what we've seen. I guess it is worth noting, though, that there is indeed a Ferris wheel in the distance, which looks quite neat, and also that the palm trees are surprisingly detailed, which after seeing what the trees look like on Athens Dash, kind of surprised me. Another thing I want to point out is that this graffiti looks pretty neat, and I do like how you get to race by the water. There's even a crab you get to encounter, which is neat. Another thing as well, though, is the path actually splits into 3 separate parts, which you can better see in this screenshot right here. In the background, you can also see a half pipe, which of course you'll be able to trick off of. I do love half pipes, so I see this as an absolute win. And there's also a lifeguard hut as well, in order to make sure that anybody who is at the beach is safe. The lifeguard hut is also sporting the Mario flag at the very top of it. Why? I have no idea, but it's neat. Only other thing I have to say about this image is that there's a cafe in the distance. Don't really have anything else to add. I just thought that was a neat detail. Moving onward to the third image, and we can see that this is clearly an oil rig or oil refinery of sorts, which is kind of neat. The thing that really stood out to me about this image, however, is that it appears that there are many different routes here. So, looking at the right of the image, we can see one big route, but you can also see 2 hoops in the sky that happen to have item boxes inside of them. This to me indicates that there's going to be some kind of glider section in this area, and you'll be able to go through the rings, and if you do so, you'll be rewarded with item boxes. You going through both rings will result in you getting the effective result of going through one double item box, which is pretty cool if you ask me. However, things get more interesting when we look in the distance, as we can once again see the Ferris wheel from earlier. But looking to the left, we have peak interest because there are oil rigs, which I talked about before, right? With it being like an oil refinery area. Anyways, we can see these, and it appears that there are 3 separate routes which all merge, and then you go off of a ramp into the distance. Also, it appears that the oil rigs themselves will act as obstacles in at least 1 or maybe 2 of the routes, which is pretty interesting. In the final image for this track, we can see that Mario is gliding over a stadium, and I don't have anything to say here other than 1, this looks freaking epic, and secondly, the stadium is full of a bunch of Koopas, Toads, and Shy Guys, who are apparently watching a bunch of Toads doing baseball. Yeah, I'd pay money too to see that. Surprisingly, I have nothing to add when it comes to this video other than I just really enjoy how the city looks. The next track is none other than GBA Sunset Wilds, and unlike Los Angeles Laps, which I thought was going to be fairly short, this one is actually going to be pretty short. So, first and foremost, we can see some footprints on the ground, which I'm assuming you can trick off of. And then there's also a mud section with some boost panels, which again, you can trick off the boost panels, which is pretty cool. This actually reminds me of a section just like it in DS Mario Stadium. One thing I want to point out, however, is the mud looks super weird. I'm not a big fan of it. It should be much darker in my opinion. I get why it looks like that, but it just looks really weird and like glass. Not a big fan of the texture. You can also see all the mountains in the background, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and there's also the finish line in the background, which is pretty interesting. You can also see a tent in the background, which we get a better look at in this image right here. Inside of the tent, second, you can see a blue Shy Guy, and right in front of you, you can see a yellow Shy Guy who is equipped with a pickaxe and who has a helmet on with a light and even has some gems coming out of a backpack. That is right, he is going mining, and by the looks of it, he has found something quite good. This image actually has quite a bit going on with it. So first and foremost, Dry Bowser is roaming through the mud, which is pretty neat. I think it should be pretty obvious that the mud is off-road, but in case it's not, there you go. Another thing as well, there are some cones in the distance. Don't really know why those are there, maybe to indicate a mud patch, but yes, they're there regardless. Another thing, and this really interested me when I noticed it, there's actually an arch in the background. Now, this track is themed out of the American Southwest, so it makes sense to include a natural arch of some kind, even if it's just a background element, as the American Southwest actually has quite a few of these. That being said, with there being multiple and me not being the most knowledgeable about natural forming arches in the American Southwest, I don't actually know which arch is being shown here, so if anyone happens to know which arch specifically is being shown, if it is specific, I guess let me know in the comments, as I'm actually quite curious. Only other things I really can point out about this image are the fact that there are colored walls all around the track. Don't know why I didn't point that out earlier. They alternate between red, blue, green, and yellow. And another thing I missed from earlier, and just noticed while doing this now, there's actually spectators sitting on the wall. You can kind of see it in the distance here, but you can better see this in a previous image that I analyzed. And it's pretty neat that they're there. You can also see some toads in the distance on one of the mountains as well. Makes me wonder how they even got up there. The only other really specific thing that I noted during this track is this footage right here. Roberto is tricking off of this hill. Normally this would not be notable at all, but considering the rest of this track appears to be flat, I did think it was worth pointing out. The final thing applies to the entire track in general. The daytime system of the track. What time of day it is. Day, night, sunset. Everywhere that we see so far for Sunset Wilds, it's sunset. Now, most tracks, it's always the same time of day or night. So, you know, doesn't really matter. However, for the original Sunset Wilds, interestingly, this is not the case. The time of day actually changes as you race on the track. And this was something I loved about the original Sunset Wilds. They changed this in Mario Kart Tour, and unfortunately, it appears that this change is being carried over into 8 Deluxe. Now, am I saying that this change is confirmed? No, but it does appear that there is good evidence to suggest that the change has indeed carried over. Which, if true, would make me quite sad, as I always appreciated that minor detail in the original Sunset Wilds, even though it didn't really affect the track at all. Moving on now to Koopa Cape, and first things first, I just want to say the river theme is back! Yes! So for anybody that doesn't know, the river part of Koopa Cape, what you're seeing right now, actually has a unique theme. A lot of people don't know this, but it does. Unfortunately, it was taken out 7, was not in tour, but it is back! Yes! So yeah, needless to say, I'm a little bit excited about that. Anyways, to the track analysis. So first things first, we have this glorious river portion. Of course, being in the river will give you a speed boost, which we can see in the video. Another thing as well is there's this ramp which you can use to skip a turn, which is kind of neat. And there's also a low shell right here, which I gotta admit, I love the texture on the shell. Looks artificial and I think it's quite nice. Also, there's a double item box within the shell if you go that way in order to get it. Also notice there's a little bit of dirt on the road, which I think is a nice little detail. And then of course in the background there's the sunshine part sign, which, not gonna lie, I don't really like this so much, at least compared to what was there originally. Back in the Wii version, there was this hilarious sign with a Koopa Troopa telling you which way to go. I always thought that was funny. So seeing it just being sunshine parts is a bit disappointing. Only other thing I have to say about this image is I'm not really the biggest fan of the visuals. I don't hate them or anything, but as far as the whole nature aesthetic goes, I wish the grass was a different color and the trees trees look a bit odd too. Not the biggest deal on Earth, but still, since I'm analyzing it, I thought it was worth mentioning. Gotta say, I do really like how the water looks though, so at least this has that going for it. Going down underwater now into the pipe section, and we can see that there is indeed a half pipe which you can trick off of, which is always a plus. However, I do have to point out that unfortunately this is not like the Wii version. This was always my favorite part of the track at Mario Kart Wii, with there being a river that you're going down and you're avoiding zipper ramps, but this was changed in Mario Kart 7, and the change was kept in Mario Kart Tour, where it just became an underwater section. Looks like they're keeping that in this, but hey, the half pipe's cool, and this area looks absolutely stunning. I love how there's the Cheep Cheeps, the eels, shells once again look super cool, and you can see other marine life down below as well, including some plants and even another warp pipe, which is pretty cool. And you can also see these little things. I don't really know what they're called, but you can ram into them. They give you a speed boost. They're present on tracks like Electrodrome, for example, and they're cool, so I'm happy that they're here as well. Final thing I want to point out about the underwater section is that it appears that the entire underwater section is actually anti-gravity, which I was not expecting at all, but that's pretty cool, and it explains why these things exist. It's actually pretty cool, and I actually quite like it. Now that we have resurfaced, we get this beautiful waterfall. I mean, my God, this is absolutely glorious. There's a half pipe that we can trick off of, which I love. And then there's this waterfall, which in Mario Kart Wii, I remember this quite fondly. And I always considered it the trolling fall, because if you try to go over this and you were not prepared for it, you would plummet and you would suffer the wrath of Lakitu. Yes, this runs so quickly that if you do not have a shroom and if you do not angle it properly, you will fall off. And my goodness me, I'm hoping they keep that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The final thing to point out about Koopa Cape is that the half pipe right before the river section is also back, which is awesome. And our final track, finally, is Vancouver Velocity. I have said it before, I will say it again. My God, the visuals on this track are stunning. Anyways, to the track analysis. The most prominent feature that you can see in this first screenshot is just off to the right, and this is none other than the Vancouver Olympics torch, which looks absolutely stunning with the flames coming off of it. Absolutely gorgeous. And off to the left in the background, you can see none other than the Capilano suspension bridge, which again looks absolutely gorgeous. And another thing, off to the left, you can see boats in the water, which is kind of interesting, as you can also see these on Toad Harbor. Another thing too, you can actually see these same boats on Los Angeles Laps. I missed that earlier. As far as other details that I quite like, you can see some autumn trees off to the left, and you can also see some snowy mountains and snowy trees in the distance as well, with the Aurora Borealis lighting up the sky. The final little detail I want to point out about this image that's not related to the truck layout is I absolutely love how there's a Yoshi sitting on this bench, and I also quite like how the streetlights look. They look pretty cool. Talking about the track layout now, you can see how there's a path that splits into two right here, but we can get a better look at this from this screenshot, which I actually took from the video of this track, and this gives us a much better perspective of it in general. We can clearly see how one path splits into two paths, and if we go ahead and we look at the left path, we can see that this is a pier, which goes over the aforementioned water, and then goes onto a ramp, which then takes you onto a route that goes off screen. If we instead follow the right route from the split, we can see another ramp, and we can see that you go up a snowy hill, which leads into the distance with the snowy trees. Speaking of which, we have this screenshot right here, which shows an anti-gravity bridge, which is supported by this footage where we can clearly see, yes, it is in fact anti-gravity. And this looks absolutely incredible. I love the snowy trees. I love how you can see the lights, the blue, the yellow ones. There's again that spinner thing that you can hit that causes you to accelerate, which is awesome. Everything about this just looks stunning. Don't have anything else to add. I just thought this looks freaking incredible. Next up, we have the inside of the arena, and oh my goodness me, this is so cool. So this is actually an ice skating arena, and we can see ice skating Shy Guys that have item boxes trailing behind them. We can also see some Shy Guys in the center, and we can also see Koopas, Toads, and Shy Guys in the stands, and they're waving around lights by the looks of it, which is pretty cool. And there's also a route in the back which takes you to the left, and then you go out of the image. And as it turns out, we can just barely see the bottom part of an autumn tree at the very back as well. And this likely means that that probably somehow connects to the first screenshot that I mentioned. I have said it with so many things about this track so far, and I'll say it for this area as well. This looks absolutely amazing. That's all for the screenshots, but I still have some stuff to talk about with some of the remaining video. So the first thing that I want to point out is that Rosalina is gliding here. We can actually see where Rosalina is coming from in the distance, with there being an item set over what I'm assuming is a glider ramp, which is just before what I'm guessing is a gap of some kind. And then you can see Rosalina trek off of this, before trekking off of this ramp, before going into the entrance of what is correctly named Arena, aka the ice arena that we just looked at. Here we get to see Toad tricking off of a glider ramp, going into a glider section. I have nothing to say other than, boy, this looks really, really cool. And I'm just going to replay the video footage again, just so we can get a good look at the city, which, oh my goodness me, as I've said many times, looks amazing. Okay, so, as it turns out, that's it for the analysis. Thank goodness, right? It's finally done. Oh my goodness me. You have no idea how long that took in editing. It was insane. Anyways, we're on the final home stretch now. Finally. But there's one more thing I want to do before the conclusion. I am going to rank every single Wave 5 track by hype. Not meaning I'm ranking it based on how I think I'll like it or won't like the tracks. No. I am going to be ranking the tracks based on how excited I am for them in Wave 5. Won't be given my reasoning, I'll leave that to future me to do, but feel free to speculate on why exactly if you wish to. Anyways, let's go ahead and let's do this rapid fire mode. Number 8 is GBA Sunset Wilds. Number 7 is GCN Daisy Cruiser. Number 6 is Tour Athens Dash. Number 5 is Tour Los Angeles Laps. Number 4 is Wii Moonview Highway. Number 3 is Wii Koopa Cape. Number 2 is Squeaky Clean Sprint. And finally, number 1 is none other than Tour Vancouver Velocity. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed it. This project has been so crazy that it has actually made the editing app I have been using this whole time, CapCut, pretty much just about give up on itself. I mean, it's been lagging like crazy, glitching out, and I've been scared that stuff is going to corrupt and everything. So I think that the editing app itself is telling me, hey, it's time to stop, okay? It's time to calm down a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. It's time to stop, okay? Anyways, dead meme aside, hope y'all enjoyed the video. I am very excited about Wave 5. I hope y'all are as well. Let me know what your thoughts are about the wave in the comments. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. Have a great day, and I hope to see y'all next time. All right, bye!